Hey y'all, welcome back to Memaw's house. I'm glad you came back. I'm in my kitchen again and it's cold outside. So I'm wanting to fix a very soothing, comforting meal for my family. So I decided to make some smothered pork chops, a little bit of rice, and some green beans. Real easy meal for the middle of the week or the end of the week after you've had a busy week. So I'm going to walk you through what I do. It's real simple and it's really delicious. So stay with me and let's make some pork chops. The old school piece of this is that I'm going to cook it in a cast iron skillet. But the new piece is that I am going to steam my rice in a rice cooker. Mama didn't have a rice cooker. She cooked it on the stove. So I'll show you how I do that too. Okay, I'm going to start with my pork chops. I have my pork chops marinating in some buttermilk. That buttermilk breaks down the protein and makes it easier and a little bit more tender. And I don't have to add any chemicals to it. So if you got buttermilk, go ahead and use that buttermilk to break down that pork chop. I do have my other ingredients that I'm going to use for my seasoning for my pork chops. I'm gonna put a little Worcestershire sauce on it, cook it in olive oil, put a little salt on it, some seasoning salt, a little paprika, some black pepper, a little garlic salt, and this has some parsley in it. I'm gonna use a little bit of cornstarch with my flour to make what I'm going to dredge the pork chops in, and then I'm going to use a little Tony Chacharis. I don't know how to pronounce it, so there it is. I'm going to use that. Remember that big old thing of rice that we bought when we went down to the commissary? Well, here she is. She is in here, and we have been eating on her, and this is where I store it because this keeps it nice and fresh. So I'm going to measure out my rice, put it in the rice cooker, and then get my pork chops ready to go. I also have an onion and some garlic here so that we can put that onion and garlic in our gravy because that's going to make it delicious. So I'm going to start this process by chopping up my onions. Actually, I'm slicing the onions. I'll cut the onion in half and then slice it into thin slices. It's important to have you a trash bowl that's sitting close by so that you can put the leftover onion paper in and all of the ends of your onions and all of that in. So I finished slicing my onions and they are ready to go. We're going to saute those onions to flavor the oil. And now I'm going to chop up my garlic. And I like to get the garlic that's already peeled, especially for times like this. I don't necessarily like the garlic that's in the jar because it always has some sort of odd flavor because of the preservatives they put in it to keep it fresh. But let's get some fresh garlic and get that chopped up. Now it's time to pour the buttermilk off the pork chops and to get them rinsed off so that they can be ready to be seasoned. Now it's time to put on our seasonings, and it's in no particular order. I just put it on and I season both sides. There's a saying I just ran across on TikTok that people say, if you ain't sneezing, you ain't seasoning. So there it is. I have sneezed, now my seasoning are there. Now I kind of massage the seasonings into the meat so that it can take on the flavor. Okay, let's put together our coating. In a bowl, I have flour. I'm going to season the flour with the same seasonings that I used to season the meat. Usually I don't use all the salted seasonings because I've already salted the meat. I will add cornstarch to make the coating a little bit lighter. It's not as heavy a coating. Heat your skillet to medium high and we'll brown our onions and garlic. While the oil is heating, I'm going to go ahead and bring over the pork chops and I'm going to begin dredging them in the flour mixture. Okay, so let's get our rice on. I'm going to cook about 1.5 cups of rice. That's enough for our family. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my rice. I rinse my rice until the water runs clear. I was told by and taught by a Korean friend of mine that I should rinse my rice, and I always do. So here you see me rinsing my rice. Here I'm measuring 2.5 cups of water to cook my rice in. We like our rice a little sticky, so I usually use a little bit more water. But if you like your rice a certain way, or you like the way it says on the package, cook it per the package. Then I always salt my water. I'm going to plug in my rice cooker and turn it on. Okay, let's get back to these onions. The onions and garlic are seasoning my oil very well. I'm going to saute the onions and garlic until they are nice and caramelized. Okay, so our oil is seasoned and it is hot enough. It's at the right temperature, so we're going to put our pork chops in to brown. We only want to brown both sides of our pork chops because remember, we're not cooking them all the way through because we're going to smother them, which will cook them a little bit more in the gravy. Now I've browned them. It takes about 2 minutes on each side just to brown them. These are pretty thick pork chops, so it's going to take a little bit for them to cook. But since we're just browning them, it only takes about 2 minutes per side. Now that this last one is finished browning, I'm going to go ahead and add my flour to my hot oil. When you're just making gravy, always measure the equal amounts of oil and flour, and that's what you would mix to brown. I've just added water to my flour oil mixture, and you see it automatically thickened. I'm adding more water. You can actually add chicken broth or beef broth at this point instead of the water, but old school says to me, use a little bit of water. I'm using my whisk to keep it moving because I don't want lumps in my gravy. Now I have to taste my gravy. It's actually pretty good. It needs a pinch more salt. Okay, I put about a half a teaspoon or so of salt in there, just sifted some salt in there, and it tastes a lot better. So now it's not as bland, because if it doesn't have salt, it's bland. So now I'm gonna put my pork chops back in. But before the pork chops, let's put these onions and garlic back in here and stir those up. Let's go ahead and cover our pan so that our pork chops can continue to cook. Now our pork chops have been simmering for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm going to, because I have done the touch test, I can touch the meat to make sure that it feels like it's done. And you don't want it to give too much. And I'm going to serve up pork chops and a little bit of rice so that I can at least taste it, because you know I got to taste it for y'all. Okay, y'all. So my rice and my green beans and my pork chops are done. So I want to taste my pork chop. The gravy tasted really good. I tasted it just a minute ago. But I'm going to cut my pork chop just a little bit so that you can have a taste test. I wish you could smell it in here. And this is the pork chop. You see it's done all the way through. Old girl did it. Nice and tender. There's not too much heat from the Tony, whatever his name is. And somebody tell me how to pronounce that. And it's not salty. The Worcestershire sauce brings out the meat taste in it. It's really good. So give this a try for your family. Enjoy it. I hope that you enjoyed watching the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing that for me. I would love for you to be a part of my cooking, cleaning, doing the grandma thing, and doing the Memaw thing. So I look forward to seeing you again. Have a good day and be blessed. Bye. And here is Peepaw's plate that I have fixed for him. He has the man-sized plate. I only ate the green beans and the pork chops. I'm trying to cut back on all my carbohydrates. Anyhow, here it is. Try it for your family. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.